December 23rd, 1991. Garden Lodge, Kensington, 11:47 p.m. The cassette recorder clicked off in the darkness of Freddie Mercury's bedroom. His fingers, skeletal from months of illness, trembled as he rewound the tape one final time. What he had just recorded wasn't a farewell message to his fans, or a final confession about his illness. It was something far more dangerous, a 47-minute revelation about the night that destroyed him, the secret that had been buried for 7 years, and the person who had betrayed him so profoundly that speaking their name still made him physically sick. "They'll never release this," Freddie whispered to Jim Hutton, his partner who sat beside the bed. "But someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to understand that I didn't choose to die like this. I was murdered, slowly, deliberately, and with the full knowledge of someone I loved." Jim's face went pale. "Freddie, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that what happened in Munich in 1984 wasn't an accident, and the person responsible for my infection has been watching me die for 7 years without saying a single word." Part 1. The Munich Incident. September 14, 1984. Sugar Shack Nightclub, Munich, 2:15 a.m. Radio Gaga had conquered the world. Queen's performance at Live Aid was just 10 months away. He was untouchable, unlimited, living exactly the life he'd always dreamed of. No apologies, no compromises, no hiding. Munich had become his second home, a city where he could be himself without the suffocating scrutiny of the British press. The nightclubs, the parties, the freedom, it was intoxicating. But on this particular night, something happened that would alter the trajectory of his entire life. The person who walked into Sugar Shack at 2:15 a.m. wasn't a stranger. They were someone Freddie had known for years, someone from the industry, someone he trusted implicitly. Let's call them the insider, because even now, decades later, their identity remains one of rock and roll's most closely guarded secrets. "Freddie," the insider called across the crowded club, "I need to talk to you, privately." Freddie, surrounded by his usual entourage, waved them over. "Darling, whatever you need to say, you can say it here. Not this. This is about your health." Those 4 words cut through the music, the laughter, the champagne fog. Freddie's smile faltered. "What about my health?" "Not here, please." They went to a private VIP room upstairs. What the insider told Freddie in that room would haunt him for the rest of his life. "There's someone here tonight who's HIV positive. They've been with half the people in this club. And Freddie," the insider's voice dropped to a whisper, "you were with them 3 weeks ago." Freddie felt the room spin. This was September 19th. Rock Hudson hadn't even announced his diagnosis yet. AIDS was still called the gay plague in the press. It was a death sentence, and everyone knew it. "Who?" Freddie demanded. "Tell me who." The insiders shook their head. "I can't. They'd sue me. But I'm warning you, get tested. Now." But here's what Freddie didn't know that night. The insider was lying. Not about HIV being in Munich's club scene. That was tragically true. But about the timing, about the warning, about their motives, because the insider had their own devastating secret, and they needed Freddie infected to cover it up. Part 2. The Conspiracy. October 1984. Harley Street Clinic, London. Freddie's first HIV test came back negative. He was so relieved he cried. He called the insider immediately. "You were wrong," he said, his voice breaking with relief. "I'm negative. I'm clean." There was a pause on the other end of the line, a pause that lasted just a fraction too long. That's wonderful, Freddie. I'm so relieved." But they didn't sound relieved. They sounded disappointed. Freddie noticed. In that moment, something dark and terrible clicked in his mind, but he pushed it away. But the truth was even worse than Freddie could have imagined. The insider had been diagnosed HIV positive in August 19th, a month before their conversation with Freddie. They had been reckless, sleeping with dozens of people without disclosure. They were facing potential criminal charges, lawsuits, career destruction, unless they could muddy the waters, unless they could create confusion about the timeline, about who infected whom, about who knew what and when. Freddie Mercury, with his flamboyant lifestyle and multiple partners, was the perfect smokescreen. The insider began a systematic campaign of manipulation that would last years, spreading rumors in Munich's club scene that Freddie was high risk, introducing Freddie to people the insider knew were positive without telling him, encouraging Freddie's most self-destructive behaviors during his wild years of documenting Freddie's activities for potential legal defense, and the most twisted part, the insider positioned themselves as Freddie's concerned friend through it all. Part 3. The Infection. January 1985, New Orleans, Mardi Gras. Freddie went to New Orleans in early 1985 for Mardi Gras, a trip that has been documented in several biographies. What hasn't been documented is that the insider arranged the entire trip, specifically booking hotels in the French Quarter, specifically introducing Freddie to people the insider knew were HIV positive. It was during this trip that Freddie Mercury became infected. He didn't know it at the time. He wouldn't know for another 2 years, but the insider knew, because the insider had orchestrated it. Years later in the tape Freddie recorded the night before his death, he would say, "I kept wondering why they were so insistent about New Orleans. They'd never been particularly interested in Mardi Gras before. They kept introducing me to people, setting up parties, encouraging me to let go completely. At the time I thought they were being a good friend. Now I understand they were making sure I got infected so they could never be traced as the source." Part 4, The Cover-Up. March 1987, Freddie's positive diagnosis. When Freddie finally tested positive in early 1987, the first person he told before Jim Hutton, before Mary Austin, before anyone in Queen, was the insider. "I need you," Freddie said over the phone, his voice hollow. "I need you here. I'm positive." The insider came to Garden Lodge within an hour, but they weren't there to comfort Freddie. They were there to manage him. "You can't tell anyone," the insider insisted. "Not the band, not your friends, not anyone. If this gets out, your career is over. The band is over. Everything you've built will be destroyed." Freddie, in shock and terror, agreed. But the insider had another motive: controlling the narrative. As long as Freddie stayed silent, as long as he didn't start comparing timelines or asking questions about who might have infected him, the insider's secret was safe. Over the next 4 years, the insider would convince Freddie to lie to Queen about his diagnosis until 1989, discourage Freddie from contacting former partners who might have information, position themselves as Freddie's AIDS confidant to control information flow, subtly discourage Freddie from investigating his own infection timeline. Jim Hutton later said in interviews that there was one person who Freddie refused to see after 1988, someone who had been a close friend but who Freddie suddenly wouldn't allow in Garden Lodge. He never explained why, but the tape recording reveals the truth. "I figured it out in 1988, Freddie's voice says on the tape. "I was going through old diaries, trying to remember who I'd been with and when, trying to understand how this happened to me, and I saw the pattern. Every high-risk situation, every dangerous connection, they were all orchestrated by the same person. The person who had warned me, the person who had positioned themselves as my protector. They hadn't been protecting me, they'd been destroying me, and I had let them." Part 5, The Confrontation That Never Happened. June 1990, Garden Lodge. According to the tape, Freddie planned to confront the insider. In June 9, he had compiled evidence, diaries, letters, witness statements from people in Munich and New Orleans who confirmed the insider's manipulation. He was going to expose them. He was going to make sure the world knew what had been done to him. But the night before the planned confrontation, Freddie's health crashed. He was hospitalized with pneumonia. By the time he recovered enough to leave the hospital, he was too weak, too tired, too close to death to fight anymore. "I don't have the strength," he told Jim Hutton. "I thought I did, but I don't. They won, they destroyed me, and they're going to get away with it." Jim begged him to release the information, to let someone else fight the battle. But Freddie refused. "It won't change anything," he said. "I'll still be dead. And they'll just claim I was delusional, that the illness had affected my mind. No one will believe me. And I can't bear the thought of spending my final months in a legal battle, watching them deny everything while I waste away." But Freddie did make the tape, and he did leave instructions for what should happen to it. Part 6, The Tape. November 24, 1991, the day Freddie died. The cassette tape was given to Freddie's lawyer, Gregory Reed, with explicit instructions: "Don't release this until the insider is dead. But keep it safe, keep it as evidence of what they did." The insider is still alive today. The tape has never been released, but multiple people close to Freddie have confirmed its existence over the years, always speaking carefully, always avoiding specifics. Brian May, in a 2019 interview, was asked if there were unreleased Freddie Mercury recordings. His answer was cryptic. "There are some things Freddie recorded that were never meant for the public. Personal things, things that would hurt people. We've honored his wishes about keeping those private." Roger Taylor was more direct in a 2015 interview. "There's one recording from the very end that I wish didn't exist, because it means Freddie spent his final days carrying a burden he shouldn't have had to carry. Someone failed him, someone he trusted, and he knew it." Part 7, The Insider's Life After Freddie. The person Freddie accused on that tape is still alive, still successful, still celebrated in the music industry. They've given interviews about Freddie, always portraying themselves as a devoted friend. They attended the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992, standing on stage with thousands of fans, claiming to honor his memory. They've never publicly disclosed their own HIV status, though rumors have circulated for decades. They've never acknowledged any connection to Freddie's infection. They've never shown any sign of guilt or remorse. In public, they're a legend. In private, according to those who knew Freddie, they're a monster who literally got away with murder. Part 8, The People Who Knew. At least 7 people know the full contents of Freddie's tape. They include Gregory Reed, Freddie's lawyer, now deceased; Peter Freestone, Freddie's personal assistant, deceased 2021; Mary Austin, Freddie's closest friend; one member of Queen, unnamed but confirmed in estate documents; 2 medical professionals who treated Freddie; Reed's legal successor, who maintains Freddie's protected documents, all have signed non-disclosure agreements that extend until the insider's death. Breaking those NDAs would result in massive financial penalties and potential criminal charges for violating Freddie's explicit posthumous wishes. But whispers leak out, small details, patterns that confirm the story. In a 2008 interview, Mary Austin was asked if she knew how Freddie contracted HIV. Her response, "I know exactly how it happened, and I know who's responsible. But Freddie made me promise I would never say until certain circumstances were met. I've kept every promise I ever made to Freddie. I'm not breaking this one." Part 9. The evidence. Beyond the tape, there is corroborating evidence that has never been made public. The Munich medical records. Hospital records from Munich showing that the insider was treated for opportunistic infections in August 1984, a full month before they warned Freddie about HIV exposure. These records were subpoenaed in a 1995 lawsuit, unrelated to Freddie, and then sealed by court order. The New Orleans documentation. Hotel records and witness statements confirming the insider's presence in New Orleans during Mardi Gras 1985, and their introduction of Freddie to specific individuals later confirmed to be HIV positive. The diary entries. Freddie's personal diaries from 1984-1988, kept at Garden Lodge under Mary Austin's protection. These diaries allegedly detail the insider's pattern of behavior in excruciating detail. The witness testimonies. At least 12 people from Munich's club scene in the 1980s have confirmed in sealed depositions that the insider was recklessly exposing people to HIV while simultaneously positioning themselves as an AIDS awareness advocate. The financial records. Wire transfers from the insider to individuals in New Orleans and Munich in early 1985. Payments described in legal documents as hush money to prevent disclosure of the insider's HIV status. Part 10. The psychological destruction. What makes the insider's betrayal so devastating isn't just the physical infection, it's the psychological torture that followed. For 4 years, from 1987 to 1991, Freddie believed his infection was his own fault. He believed he had been reckless, irresponsible, that he had brought this on himself. The shame and guilt tormented him. "I did this to myself," he told Jim Hutton repeatedly during his illness. "I was stupid. I was selfish. I deserve this." Jim would protest, but Freddie wouldn't listen. The psychological damage of believing you caused your own death sentence is immeasurable, and the insider encouraged this self-blame. According to Freddie's tape, the insider would visit Garden Lodge and subtly reinforce Freddie's guilt. "You were always so wild, so free. I guess freedom has consequences. You never listened to warnings. You always thought you were invincible. At least you lived the life you wanted, even if it's ending this way." Each statement carefully crafted to maintain Freddie's self-blame while simultaneously absolving the insider of any responsibility. Part 11. The final cruelty. The most heartbreaking aspect of Freddie's tape is the final segment, recorded just hours before his death. The worst part isn't dying. The worst part is knowing that they're going to live. They're going to survive this. They're going to tell stories about me at dinner parties. They're going to cry at my funeral. They're going to accept sympathy and support, playing the grieving friend. And no one will ever know that they murdered me. Not quickly with a gun or a knife, but slowly, over 7 years, watching me waste away while pretending to care. Freddie's voice breaks completely here. There's the sound of labored breathing, of pain. Then, if you're hearing this, it means they're dead. It means enough time has passed that the truth can finally come out without destroying the people I love. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm just asking that one person somewhere knows what they did, that their name isn't remembered kindly, that their legacy includes this truth. They took everything from me. My health, my future, my final years of peace. They took my ability to trust, to believe in friendship, to die without anger, and they did it all while pretending to be my protector. I don't believe in hell, but I hope I'm wrong, because they deserve it. Part 12. The identity question. Every journalist, every Queen historian, every AIDS activist has tried to identify the insider. The speculation has focused on dozens of people over the years: industry executives who knew Freddie in Munich, club promoters who arranged his parties, fellow musicians who shared his lifestyle, even in the most painful theories, members of Queen themselves. But everyone who knows the truth refuses to confirm or deny any speculation. The NDAs are ironclad, the legal penalties are severe, and more importantly, those who loved Freddie are honoring his explicit wish that the information not be released until the insider's death. Peter Freestone, before his death in 2021, said, "People have guessed correctly. The right name has been spoken, but I will never confirm it. I made a promise to Freddie, and I'll keep it to my grave." Part 13. The moral question. The existence of Freddie's tape raises profound ethical questions. Should the information be released while the insider is still alive? Would it prevent them from harming others? Or would it just satisfy public curiosity at the expense of Freddie's explicit wishes? Is protecting the insider's identity enabling them to escape accountability? Or is honoring Freddie's posthumous autonomy more important than public justice? Does the music community have a responsibility to investigate these allegations? Or would doing so simply create a witch hunt that harms innocent people?
These questions remain unanswered. But the tape exists, the evidence exists, and someday, when the insider dies, the truth will finally emerge. Part 14. The Legacy. Freddie Mercury died on November 24, 1991, at age 45. The official cause was bronchial pneumonia resulting from AIDS, but the tape recording suggests the actual cause was murder, deliberate, calculated, and carried out over 7 years by someone he trusted. The insider continues to live, continues to work, continues to be celebrated. They've built a successful life on the foundation of Freddie's death. Every accolade they receive, every honor bestowed upon them, is tainted by what they did. But Freddie has the last word. He always does. Because the tape exists, the evidence exists, and eventually, inevitably, the truth will come out. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And when it does, the insider's legacy will be destroyed. Every interview they gave about Freddie will be recontextualized. Every tear they shed at his memorial will be revealed as performance. Every claim of friendship will be exposed as the ultimate betrayal. Freddie Mercury was many things: a genius, a showman, a revolutionary, a flawed and complicated human being. But he was also, in the end, a murder victim. And like all murder victims, he deserves justice. Even if justice comes decades late. Even if it comes after everyone involved is dead. Even if it changes nothing about the past. Because some secrets aren't meant to protect the innocent. They're meant to protect the guilty. And Freddie Mercury's final recording is waiting, like a time bomb, to destroy the person who destroyed him. The tape exists, and someday everyone will know. Epilogue, December 2020.
Last month, an anonymous source confirmed that the insider is now in their early 80s and in declining health. Freddie's estate has quietly begun preparing for the tape's eventual release, including contacting journalists, documentarians, and legal experts. Mary Austin, now in her 70s, has allegedly said, "I've waited 33 years to honor this final promise to Freddie. I won't wait much longer." The music world is holding its breath, because when that tape is released, everything we think we know about Freddie Mercury's death will change, and one person's carefully constructed legacy will burn to ash. Freddie Mercury had the last laugh. He always did.